All right, let's take a look here. This is Drawdles. Supposed to be on stream, but you know, Masters, Widow Cassidy. What do you hope to get out of the session? Some tips or guidelines to play smarter and climb higher. How often, how long do you play? 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sounds good. Long-term, short-term goals when you get to 500. What do you feel is only back from improving? I think I'm improving, just hoping some coaching would help speed it up. Okay, 8 hours of sleep per night. Nothing really else in the forum. If you have any questions about training schedule or anything like that, just let me know. But this seems pretty straightforward. So let's just take a look at some gameplay here. So I believe this is all Widow here. Yeah, looks like a lot of Widow, not a lot, but Widow. Okay, yeah, just Widow. So I actually just recently coached Widow on this map, so we'll have a lot of fun talking about this one. The key thing with Widow is all about like finding the maximum position when you're not dealing with counters. And then as soon as you're starting to deal with counters, having to learn to adjust that position based off of what you want to do. Widowmaker wants to set her feet and shoot people. That's all she wants to do. So everything else that you have to do besides that with Widowmaker is more about the fact that the enemy team doesn't want you to do that. So how do you respond to them not wanting you to do that? So if you look at their composition, even from the get-go, you're thinking like, okay, Reaper, Winston, Tracer. Those guys are going to try to stop me from doing what I want to do. So what I want to do is whenever they're a factor, I'm going to have to consider where they're at and like where they're threatening me. If they're not a threat, then what's the best sightline that I can possibly take? Like right here is like fine. That's fine. There's Winston Bubble. This means I peek. Right. Nice. And if you could get early pressure like you did on that Winston, that's really helpful. Because that can mean that you force things like bubble early. Nice shot. Holy cow. Before they commit to the dive. Now, the only thing I would say here is you don't have a Venomine set up. What I would do is I would immediately start with Venomining probably this Will door here or in here on rollout if you can. You can also Venomine along this flank here or on the back door here for information. You haven't really had a chance to as the fight started, but that's why you Venomine early so that you don't have to worry about it mid-fight. Even if it's just for a little bit of information. If they run a comp without flankers, you could just use it on main just for extra free damage. Now get ready, they're gonna dive you soon. They actually go Doomfist, okay, we'll take it. Good. See, you're putting way too much attention to this. Way too much attention to this. So, when the Winston dove you earlier and bubbled, you immediately took that opportunity to go, okay, that's one threat off my screen. Now I take an angle and peek main. This is your opportunity to do the same thing. When Doom blocks, it's the same thing. You're like, oh, I can do damage. No, you can't. Especially not as a Widowmaker. Maybe if you charged a headshot, maybe. But even though like the stars align here and you get everything you want, he still gets pulled, right? So this is this perfect situation where like, great guys, I forced a dive, I triggered the Venomine, nice job. Peek here. Look at this Tracer. Look at this Weaver. Look at this Reaper. When you get pressured by a diver and you rotate, don't immediately go back and look at that diver. Take the sightline and peek. So now you're missing out like this. You're on the back foot already. This Reaper, this Tracer, this Life Weaver should not have had the space to do what they did there. And now it's like, now it's like, okay, now you're screwed. Now you're screwed. Like you're still not in a safe position. Now, thankfully, that I guess they just chose to ignore you, so we'll take that. Yeah. I think you just tunneled too long. I get out of here. Get out. Get out right now. You're way too close. Way too close. So you want to rotate to where? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your best bet is probably to grapple up to this high ground up here. At the very least, grapple here, cancel, and then end here. At least you have a little bit more distance from here. And then here you can either rotate to here. It probably takes too long, or you can walk up the stairs and peek here. Your choice. Way too close. See, all that time that you're wasting scoping in and on here, you could have been controlling the sightline here. Like, these guys are doing you a favor by not focusing you, and you've been able to do nothing with that attention. Part of that is because of the Life Weaver roll. Part of that's been because you've missed some shots. But also part of that's been your positioning. One of those things that you can control, so control that. Do better with that. Nice. Get ready. Get out. Out. Because the thing is, you're thinking here is like, oh, this fight's lost. Okay, then grapple on cart, or just take the shot and grapple on cart. You could have walked out, grappled up the high ground, and reset it for next fight, prevented a snowball. This snowball's about to continue now. I mean, a great shot, I guess, but you've continued the snowball here. Oh, that's the snowball. You've continued the stagger here. Be decisive with what you want to do. And that was best case scenario, that kill there. And it still wasn't a good play. So this angle is cute. It's unpredictable as long as you have your grapple and you know where their divers are. Now listen for Winston and Tracer. Good. Good. Again, a situation where you could be either Venom mining, probably up in here. I think also a Venom mine behind you here would be really, really quite good on this right here. Oh, it's already there. I'm an idiot. Okay, then I would leave my Venom mine, honestly. That's the next level coaching right there. Coaching you in something that you already did. I think a sightline's fine. You don't have to be like super cute with it. You have distance. You have cover. You can see your divers. Your divers have to dive your team first before they dive you. Don't feed punch, please. And this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. This is unforgivable. Nano Doom. You feed punch, and then they're starting to take space. Where should you go? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As they've shifted forward, as they've used the nano, as they're going to be using the Doom ult, which you know is coming as well. Drop from here. If anything else, if he ults, or honestly, even if he doesn't ult, you can rotate over across to this side here, creating a crossfire. Get back away. The way that you're responding to being dove, you should die here. Yep. You know, even if you don't die there, you're going to be running and kicking and screaming when you should have been planting your feet and shooting. The way that you respond to being dove is you give the diver too much attention, or you don't give them enough attention and you don't rotate quickly enough. I think in general, when you're here, you should already be thinking about when this Doomfist, Genji, so on, get to me. Because it's inevitable. They will get to you. It might take Nano, it might take Doom ult, it might take Pulse Bomb, it might take Blade, it might take Life Removal. They will throw everything they can at you at some point. So where's your next step? Where's your escape path? You're the kid in kindergarten, like when the fire drill comes on, screams and poops his pants, right? Like, you need to already know where you're going before you even go. I guess that would be my best tip for that situation. I think it's not super complicated, and I think what you can do is you can make your life easier by trying to think about it ahead of time.
No one can hide from my sight.
Normally I'm against infocytes this early, but when you're retaking space, it could be very helpful, especially when there's like dive threats. I don't know why you're here. You should have been immediately rotating at top left as soon as you saw Doom vacate it. I really hate this position. Like, really hate this position. It's a shorter sightline. It's a worse angle. The only reason you'd be here and not here is if there's a diver controlling here, right? That wouldn't allow you to go. Like, it is so easy for them to hide from you. Nice shot. Venomine here. Would Venomine here, just so if the Doom or Genji comes for you, it actually hits them. This will not hit either of them. And keep in mind, you're not going to be able to stay here too long. Yeah. See, that Venomine's not going to trigger. Okay. Like I said, a shame about that Venomine. You could put your Venomine at your feet now if they're not taking that angle anymore. Wait, Light Weaver on the flank. Okay. Like the position here. You're tunneling too long. This is where like the Venomine on like something like this or at your feet would have been helpful. Probably would not grapple, because you don't really move much with this grapple, right? So you could just kind of walk back here and SMG a little bit here. I think that's probably fine, and/or scope from here, and then still have your grapple if that Doomfist comes. It's not like that grapple gave you a significantly better angle, right? You basically ended up in the same spot. and then now you don't have your grapple. So I think, like, I think by the end, I hope by the end that we have an accumulation of a couple of anti-dive skills that we could talk to you about. Grapple management, Venomine, specific Venomine placement, giving the divers enough attention to escape, but not a lot of it, but the dive tank, not too much attention. And again, here, it's just like, it's just hubris, right? When he's this close, your first priority should be to leave. I know you didn't quite have your grapple yet, but that's just, it's a minor error. You got to track that, right? If you don't have grapple, you can't take that aggressive an angle. Even if you do think that the fight was potentially winnable, you notice how things have continued to snowball into third. That's on you dying late there, right? You got to be really careful about that. You could pop in for sight here if you wanted to. Again, like I said, popping in for sight and retaking space into divers. What are you doing? You're feeding. Both of your supports are in spawn, and you're walking forward here. I mean, yeah, and there ain't a lot to learn here. In addition to that, what I would do is I would pop in for sights here, and you're gonna have to go out. You can't. There's no other way to go out this door, right? Right? Yeah. Regardless, go out this door, pop in for sights, and walk out this way. Right? Set up a little bit of an angle. Very easy to choke you out and guess where you're peeking here. I mean, this feels terrible, right?
No one can hide.
And now you pop in for sights, but you're already up too. Okay. So, Venomine there is good. This is way too close. This is just hubris. Again, I don't mind the aggressive angle here. If you were to go for something like super cheeky, just knowing that I can grapple back, I would probably aim for something like this here. Just where there's a little bit of distance and you have a really nice juicy grapple spot. You don't have these here. Even if your team pushes up a little bit here, if they have a Kitsune Rush, Blade, Doomult, Pulse Pump, you could die here. This is way too, it's too close. It's too close. It's not that the angle is too aggressive, because aggressive angles could be like, literally, this would be, I would like this position. Where are we? Okay. I would like you hiding here and late peeking here better than I like where you're at right now. Because there's distance. There's no distance here.
Now I truly feel alive.
I mean, I guess, but we're not a results-based coaching system here, you know? So congratulations on hitting the shot, but what if you don't? You've used your grapple, you've been scouted, you've taken damage, and you were diveable. This Doomfist could all in you right now. They could pop Blade right now and you're dead. I have nothing versus high risk, high reward plays, but that was a high risk, medium reward play. And see, the funny thing here too is as well as I would also say your angle that you grappled out to isn't particularly good. For example, I would probably want you to play along this sightline here. I think this sightline would be maybe something to rotate to at some point. And honestly, even this sightline along dropping here at some point and maybe grappling out this way with a Venomine, that would be probably good. I mean, this is definitely an awkward spot of the map, but you don't really want to be here long term, but you can't be anywhere else because you don't have your grapple. And once again, because you're struggling to keep track of the people when they get close to you, once again, they've snuck up on you. I also am not a big fan of how much attention we give our dive tanks. After that initial shot, when he's in, you know he's gonna block, right? I would be very cautious about this because now while you're giving them attention, you're letting the backline walk up forward for free. There's your one shot, right? There's your real threat. Doomfist is not even going for you. Don't give him attention. And you're dead, right? You're too close. You're too close. You give the Doom tank too much attention when you shouldn't. And you don't have your grapple. You're managing your grapple poorly. And this is the Widow. You could have the greatest aim in the history of the world. You hit some crazy shots. But this is why you're still masters. Good? Huh. I would Venomine here. 100% Venomine right here. If you Venomine here and you hold your grapple, you can beat Genji 1v1 here. Easy. You just weren't ready for it. You got to anticipate these things, right? You got to anticipate these things. One of the marks of a great player is knowing your threats and tracking your threats. It's what makes wrecking balls like Chasm play into Sombra. It's what makes Zenyatta's like Jonak play into great tracers like Striker back in the day. It what allows even things like Reinhardt and like a Cloudly to play into ML7, you know, not to be corny, but like tracking sleep dart, things like that. Like you right here are like so focused on hitting that shot and so focused on, oh, maybe I can get the pick, that you are completely oblivious of where that Genji and Tracer are. Now the Tracer is actually not as much of a threat. She's in a position to where for her to get to you, she's gonna have to commit at least 2 blinks, right? Okay, but the Genji, he didn't even crouch. He just walked, and you're dead, right? And that's a huge misplay here. Are you dead either way versus this combo? Maybe, but if you Venomine and you grapple to spawn here, you might live, and you're gonna waste a lot of their time, damage the Genji, and be able to re-engage at a later point in time. If they send 2 resources on you and you live that, oh my days, that's amazing. But you're not expecting it. You're always surprised. Whether it's the Nano Doom, or the Tracer flanking behind you, or the Genji dashing on top of you. So we'll talk about skills specifically. Now I know I'm being tough on you, but we'll talk specifically about skills that you can work on to build those skills a little better. Not just, oh, be more aware, but like what you need to do. Again here, really not the most optimal angle that you can take. The fight's going to happen on cart. You are just so accessible right here. Again, this is where a higher risk, higher reward flank or something a little bit further back like here would be excellent. I know fall off range, yada 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 yada, doesn't justify it, especially using your grapple that late. Like look at this, right? Look at how fragile you are. You know? Okay, that's that should be that. So I'm gonna make a list of things that we're looking at here so I don't forget. Here's what we're looking at. All right, we're looking at you tracking your threats. We're looking at you grappling late versus dive threats where you might need your grapple. Your Venomine placement. Your attention to dive tank instead of the DPS and backline when the dive tank is no longer a threat to you. And finally, having an idea of a rotation, actually more than that, having an idea of a rotation of where you want to go when you get dove, before you get dove, and finally just simply being too darn close. Those are our 6 things that we've talked about here. I think also maybe Infrasight and retake. Now the reason why I'm saying that now is because you're going to know your play better than I'm going to know your play, especially after only a 15-minute game. So what I would do is I would take these ideas and consider them strongly and be like, which one of these do you think I would benefit from the most? Which of these do I think that I mess up frequently? Because this is just one game. You might be more familiar with your play than I am. But those are the ones that I'd start with. Now, the good news is that I'm going to have, obviously, you know, another 5 minutes to take a look, 4.5 minutes to take a look at your play, and maybe tailor those 6 into 3 or 4. But I'm going to throw all of the crap out at you so that you can pick 1 or 2 of those that really stand out to you. Oh, no. It's just not worth it. Because, like, think about this. This should be used as insurance so that you could take an angle like this. Think about how many more shots you're gonna be able to take it from an angle like this, you know? I'm a big grapple aggressively guy, you know? If you're playing on like Junkertown or Circuit Royale in a Widow duel, if you're not grappling basically off a cooldown, you're trolling. But that's because there's nothing else you need to do with your grapple. Your grapple versus this composition, especially considering that you've already seen them on Doom here, is insurance. It's what allows you to take more aggressive positions. You don't have your grapple, you don't take the aggressive position. It's that simple. You using grapple here means that you're gonna sit right here, which not only feels way too close, but it also means that it's a significantly worse sightline than you could take if you'd had grapple. And here we go, right? Look how close we are. Look how effective we are. Think about how much more we'd be doing here on Reaper, or Bastion, or Cassidy, Hanzo, anything. And in the next grapple we get, we go for another grapple shot. Congratulations, I guess, but now you're dead. All right, let's go. Get it over with. Get it over with. Oh, you are so lucky. But even best case scenario, you lose the position again. And now you're being smoked. I mean, you're presenting yourself as a punching bag to the enemy team through your misuse of cooldowns. It's almost like you're doing it on purpose to bait cooldowns. Nice. Now, where's Tracer? For example, when you grappled up here, is it because you knew where Tracer was? She was on the bottom left, so I'm safe to grapple up here. Right? That's the level of thought that you got to be putting into these things. Oh, you're good, you're good. Is he here yet? Okay, we're good. I've got the internet guy coming out again tonight. Twice in one day. What's for dinner? Nice.
I'm just gonna try estimated arrival time is 8:10.
8:10? Okay, sick. We got plenty of time to finish this then. Yeah, I'd say I'd get off the cart quicker, sooner rather than later. And then again with the Venomine here, I think Venomine placement probably along the stairs here would be your best bet. Again, it's about thinking proactively, right? Like, I think that Tracer is going to take an angle here. Could you get value if you threw it on here and it, like, tickled the Doomfist? Yeah, absolutely. 75 damage. It's not nothing. But would it be more valuable to just in case? Yeah, probably. Probably. Ah! Stop feeding punch. Unfortunate miss. That's okay. I wonder if your Brig died because he got punch. Did he get punch? He got punch, right? Yeah, he got punch. Ha! See? It does more damage, right? I'm not so sure that she would have died there. Look at her HP. She got body shot by Hanzo, so that's 125. And then the straight punch just smoked her. Okay, maybe she wouldn't have died. Doesn't matter. Stop eating punch. The reason why I'm so hung up on that, though, is because that's like a common problem for you. Like right now, when you see him blocking, screw it, man. Hold your scope in on this corner right here, this Moira, or up here, or even like on an angle like this here. It's not because it's look at what happens right there. Look at the Moira, right? You're at 0% charge. This Moira should be dead. You get what I'm saying? It's because you give the Doomfist attention and do 10 damage and feed punch. You're not giving the attention elsewhere. So it's more of a micro thing with Doom, but it keeps happening. It's killed you or your teammates many times. Stop moving. Stop moving. Hold perfectly still. Only time you should be strafing like that is if you're concerned about the Widowmaker peeking. And there's not a Widowmaker, there's a Hanzo. Hanzo doesn't even know where you are right now, so he's like focused on different things, so you don't need to be strafing here. So even there was no reason for you to strafe on that first shot because he wasn't even looking at you. Now you need to strafe. It's the same thing with the Venomine. Like, I think like when I'm saying Venomine, you had it here. That's not good enough. You gotta get it here. You gotta be precise. Where she either destroys it or she trips it. There's no in between. If it trips here, it's not giving you information soon enough. It does the damage, but it's not soon enough. The information sooner is more important. Nice shot. I mean, I know the fight's lost, but I would have grappled out and maybe played for a reset here. I don't know. It's whatever. At least you died quick. Now you know you're gonna have to grapple up top. So you're going to be a little fragile. Go right now. Don't shoot Doom. Yes, thank you. Brilliant. I actually kind of respect the discipline with the Infosight here. I don't think there's a lot of value to use it, as long as you know where the rest of the team is. Too much strafing. Notice this, by the way? Watch this. Hanzo looks at you. Okay, now he's getting stunned and swung on by the Brig. If you could stop for a second there and not move right there, see how much harder you made your shot? He's clearly not shooting at you. I would try to ego it. I know that's some controversial advice, but I'm gonna stand by it. I'm gonna stand by it. And now you Infosight. Honestly, like I would have just not used Infosight or used Infosight, one or the other. I can see arguments for both. Now it's just silly. And they're gonna sneeze your direction and you're gonna fall apart. Maybe worth considering here, you know, briefly for a rotation. Just to shift up the sightline a little bit. I don't think that you should overthink this particular fight too much. I mean, this is gonna happen. You're controlling the sightline really, really well. You're not really very easy to dive. You're hitting a couple of shots, nothing crazy. It's fine. If your team fumbles the bag on this point, I would worry more about your performance on defense and the first couple of fights on this point, rather than what's happening here. Nice shot.
Merci.
Nice. Good. I wouldn't grapple just yet. I would let my diva walk forward a little bit more first. See, this is a little bit hubris. You see how like they're all looking at you right now? It's because there's nothing else happening. Give it some time. Give it some time before you peek here, because that's a good. Doing what you're doing right now, I promise you, you're sonicked. You see me? You know what I'm saying? Give it some time. Give it some time. Let your diva walk forward a little bit. Maybe take a more conservative peek, like here. You know, and then grapple up here to start. Peek a little here, and then walk forward to here. Like this is super telegraphed. You got to be intelligent to play Widowmaker. You got to be either intelligent or you got to have good instincts. Widowmakers are generally like in between. You got to either be very like hunter-esque, where you're like you smell your prey and you're just like being super sneaky and creative and clever, and or you got to be really cerebral, right? Very thoughtful, and you know, if A then B. You can't be stupid to play Widowmaker, right? You gotta train yourself to pay attention to details like this, because it's the difference between you maybe hitting a shot here and maybe hitting a shot in this tracer, or you getting your log to the head by the Hanzo. Right? It's hard to peek that. You can't peek that, really. He's got a pre-scope on you. And so because you screw up that initial trade, you feel the need to go for something this risky. Now, I'm not totally against a play like this, but even a play like this takes thought. If you're going to take this angle, you better do it late. You better do it while that Hans is distracted. Okay, thank you. Because, listen. He heard you. If you'd given your team time, a little bit more time, even showed up late, then this might have worked. And certainly once they know you're here, you got to get out. Don't ego this. Don't ego this. This tracer's coming for you. You know, you got to know that. You got to know that. So then don't scope. Grapple out. Grapple out. Get out. Don't ego the tracer. Don't make it a mechanical play, right? Only ego when either the field is even or you have a slight advantage. Then you fight. You got to fight dirty as Widow. This, you have other options besides dying to this tracer. It's not the only play that you had, or dying to this Hanzo. You did a good job, so be smart about it. Ego if you think you can win it, but you're not going to win this. And so even though you actually created a lot of space, doesn't matter. I appreciate the creativity, but if you're going to be that creative, you got to be clever. And right now, we're not showing that. Okay, Hanzo's distracted. You can totally grapple right up here totally safely. Go for it. Please grapple, please grapple, please grapple. Nice shot. Grapple. Sooner rather than later. Oh, that's unfortunate. And I think you just lost track of her, but I don't necessarily blame you. That's a tough one. Nice. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get. Thank you. A little slow. Yeah, then now it's just Kovacs. Will you hit one more shot? Okay, so I think your mechanics are a little bit more impressive than your brain is. And I think given what we've seen, let's write some goals out, all right? Goals. Track one threat on the enemy team. Start with one. And adjust positioning. Have escape route planned out ahead of time. So that's, I think, just a good one. You know, having one threat that you're worried about, that you can play around, that you can position around, whether it's the Hanzo, whether it's the enemy Widow, whether it's the enemy Ball, whether it's the enemy Sombra, the Tracer, the Genji, the Winston, Diva, and so on. If you're able to track one and you're able to position around it, I think that's going to be very helpful for you. The other one is I want you to be thoughtful with grapple. Use it to win duels when you don't need it to reposition, get away from dives. A lot of grapples just used for the sake of using them, and that meant that you were very, very vulnerable not only to dying, but you couldn't actually take any good sightlines because you didn't have grapple, right? So I think that's the number 2 thing. Number 3, then a mine placement, depending on comp situation. Little detail, but I think it happens frequently enough for it to be worth putting attention to. And some micro details, some super little details, even smaller than mine placement. Stop shooting Doom. Doom block / giving him so much attention when he's blocking at the expense of other targets, right? Maybe Infrasight. You know, actually, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. There's a couple of other details which we talked about at the halfway point, but those are the big three, and then a tiny little detail, the fourth one with the doom block. What I would do is I'd pick one of those. I'd practice one of those until I felt like I had made some progress with it, and then I move on to the next one. And you could do that on a daily basis. You could focus on one detail per game. It's totally however you want to do it, but those are the things that I would try to be working on. And notice that I'm not telling you to work on your positioning. I'm not telling you to work on your Venomine placement or you know, fix your Venomines. I'm worried of a specific thing. Think about the enemy comp. Where does the Venomine go? Think about the enemy comp. How do I position? Where's my escape route? Think about the enemy comp. How do I use my grapple, right? A lot of this comes from, it's not so much like learning new things, so much as it is developing new mental habits that you do every single morning. That, you know, you get up, you brush your teeth, you take a shower if you haven't showered the night before, you exercise or whatever. You get in the habit of doing good things, and so those become almost automatic. And that's kind of what you want to be doing with a hero like Widowmaker as well. If you're able to track one threat better, then you can kind of relax and focus on your mechanics. If you're able to do a better job with your Venomines without thinking about it as much because you practiced it for so long, then you get the value of just showing up, right? And that's the goal. So let me know if you have any questions. Definitely a little bit more of a complicated hero than I think people give credit to. And I will chat with you later.